Hello and welcome to another Tuesday night Pell session. Tonight we're going to be discussing not really a new shot but a new powering technique in the form of sword forward technique. What we're basically looking at tonight is another way to generate a fast shot without a long wind up and a large body motion. However, the thing to note about sword forward is if done incorrectly, it can put a lot of strain on your joints and you can easily munt an elbow or a shoulder or something like that. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't done it up until this point. The other thing is, it's quite often a useful starting shot from a dead stop. I don't tend to do it too much in the middle of the fight. I tend to do the much more sword behind my head long throws in the middle of the fight because I'm already moving, my sword is already moving, and so I'm generating power in those ways. However, from a standing start, sword forward has some advantages in that A, your sword is in front of your head, giving you an extra piece of defense, and secondly, the actual motion is a lot harder to see started if done correctly. Now, what it looks like from the front is that. That is a sword forward snap. From the side, you'll see that the body starts moving and that hand gets projected forward, first of all by the shoulder, then the arm, then the tip flicks out. As discussed a few weeks ago, this is an excellent shot to practice, first of all, using that elasticated rope from Kmart or someplace like that, because this allows you to put your body under a small amount of load as you get the feel for that shoulder taking up the initial part of the force and getting this hand moving, and then keeping that hand nicely in line as you actually project it forward. Sword forward will kill your elbow and shoulder if you're not doing a couple of things and keeping everything nicely in line, like so. Very hard to show, get with the Pell there towards the camera, but the idea is that everything stays nicely in line and projected forward. Another key thing to think about when you're doing sword forward is the standing start. The start is with this shoulder that you're projecting the sword with rolled back. It's good in general to keep your shoulders rolled back. It stops them getting out of place and the wrong muscles being used. But sword forward extremely, just as much, if not more than any other, requires that shoulder to be rolled back, tucked in, to give you a good platform to throw this shot from. The second thing is the hand and the sword is very much tucked in. It feels really, really weird to begin with, but that hand is basically tucked in near your own shoulder, which is rolled back, so that all that force of the slight body rotation is kept in nice and line, and then that hand is projecting straight out to actually deliver the power and the blow. Again, use the band as much as possible to get a feel for this without throwing it at high speed. Because so many people, what they'll do is they'll hold the hand out here, that rotation will put stresses on their arm or on their shoulder, and then they'll try and drag and pull it online and do a lot of damage to that arm and shoulder. The next thing to know about sword forward is that the initial power generation done in that small rotation and arm extension is the start of the shot. It's not the end of the shot. What you then have to practice is, if you're hitting someone as a snap over here, you're trying to flick the tip of the sword over to hit the opponent as a kind of timed flick rather than a straight hard cut. This is done to use the whiplash kind of effect of projecting that arm forward and then that tip getting left behind, catching up and accelerating past the arm as the arm stops to actually deliver a good blow. What it does, however, mean is if you want to hit someone on this side of their head, you punch a little bit further that way, let the tip flick over, and then strike into them. However, if you want to punch someone on this side of the head and flick them on that side of the head, you actually do slightly the opposite in that you punch forward and then you flick out. So it looks more like that. More like so, just to get that motion going, but it all starts from the same kind of shoulder joint push. You can get down to the leg quite easily from that shoulder push. The offside, deep offside, pretty darn hard to get to without some larger motion. If I was going for the offside leg, I would actually start in this position, step, drop that sword behind my head, and do something different to get down there. I wouldn't use sword forward. The other thing to remember with sword forward is that blade is tipped across you towards your shield side. In general, the best position to have it is so that that blade is going across your own forehead. One of the drills that I was taught when I was learning to fight was to put your hand on your forehead and practice throwing a shot, and then that sword coming back and you catching it in your hand to make sure your sword is actually returning the blade to the correct position every time, ready to throw again. And it is quite important that that blade is tipped that way, because it does give you that little bit extra as you flick towards for the snap. Okay? So, in full speed, the shots tend to look like this for a snap, and this for an offset. The big advantage of the sword forward also is the fact that since everything is projecting straight towards your opponent doesn't get to see a big wind up, so the shot can appear very quickly out to hit them. And so it's lovely in the way that it hides that motion. But again, because you haven't got this longer throw, larger rotation to get the sword up to speed and to throw it, you're relying on all these muscles firing very quick succession and correctly, and also that arm needs to be able to stop with that little bit of a bend, and quite often people tend to fling it out, hyperextend the elbow, which is where some of those elbow injuries go into. So yes, if you want to take and bring sword forward into your own fighting style, make sure that you have a go with a band, with something like that, and do it nice and slowly to feel how it goes. It is very good to feel the heavier weight being pushed forward, because it does kick out a lot of really bad habits from trying to throw it without straining your muscles until they give out. Anyway, that's it for this week, and I will catch you next week. See you later.